Hi again. This is a third little informative video, or is it the fourth? Some number. Here's something you may want to do with your impulse engine cowling. This takes a little work. You got to fill all this in with putty and then cut all these windows out. But this is the Franz Joseph design from the blueprints. You see I made both kinds for my Excalibur. There is the standard look for the impulse engines from the studio model, but this just looks cool. I like this look a lot better. How I achieve this, like I talked about, is filling all this in with putty, sanding it down, getting it nice even. I took the Franz Joseph blueprints and blew them up on my scanner to 110%, and that fit exactly to the 1/350 scale. So if you have the actual blueprints, the set themselves, if you set your printer after you scan in one of the sets, set it to 110%, you can print that off, and that's a template that you can use on your 1/350 scale. I did that with my landing bay too, because on the blueprints for the landing bay, you can see the little opening I've got there. There are access panels. And so I cut one of those out. I laid down the photocopy from the printer and scratched that out, scribed it. There are 3 access panels there in the front. Scribed all 3, and then I cut out one of them, and I've got it underlit for red light, because we see that effect in the motion picture. The underdeck to the main hangar deck has that red illumination to it, and I achieved that with just some clear red plastic, clear styrene underneath there. And so when I light this up, you'll have a nice red glow coming up from that lower storage area. But I highly recommend you try doing a version of your impulse like this. It is time consuming. Not gonna beat around the bush with that, but it sure gives a nice look. And you can see that I've got some mesh wire in there. And how in the world do you do that? Well, you go to Dollar Tree and you go to where they have the frying pans and everything, and you pick up one of these frying pan oil covers that keeps the frying oil from splattering up all over your stovetop. And this one's been going almost 4 years now, because I use this very fine mesh for all of my engine use, both for starships and especially Klingon models. And if you fill in that mesh with some canopy glue, because the canopy glue dries clear, you'll get a nice diffused effect, which is much better than the decal that you can get here, or even the photo etch parts that you can put in there. For $1 at Dollar Tree, I bought enough wire mesh to do all of these engines that I've done for the last 4 years, and I still have a ton of wire left. It works very, very well, and is well worth the 99-cent investment in it. One more thing I want to show you on my Excalibur build that I'll be doing with my Republic build as well. You see that I have both BC decks up here, and you see that what I did was just improvise a plug from my existing Polar Light wiring that came with the Polar Lights lighting kit. I don't use most of the lights in that. I'm using a lot of SMDs and some of the LED tape that's available in various sizes. Usually the double density I find the most effective. But by hacking some of that, you can see I just took my SMD wiring, connected it into this plug, and so I can, whenever I want to, just swap out the 2 different bridges. And that's just a fun little thing to have as an option for yourself. They fit very snugly on there. Some people worry about, oh, you've got a seam line there. Well, you can't really see it. It's not that big of a deal. And it allows you to show off your painting skills in both types. So there's the classic look with the dark grays, the tan or beige center area, and the reds and the black. And you can see the red door there. And notice that the red door does not fill the entire door space, just like on the series. Now, in order to get that door just right, I did not paint that. I just used some pen striping. I found the appropriate width, okay, and I just cut out the right size to it and just secured it in there. And that way you get a nice border around the door, just like you see on the series. And it works very, very well. Now with the pilot one, you see I have a different color scheme: silver, blue, gray, and other grays, because, you know, Roddenberry just wanted that very sterile look. And you can see the blue door. Now I did paint that door, but then I achieved my borders on it with some of the black striping. Okay, so there's another little trick for you. One more thing on these BC decks, you can see this floodlight appendage that I put on both. That, let me put the bridge back in here. This will cast all the way across on here from that elevation of the BC deck on both versions. Okay, and all I have is a little SMD in there, and that just floods out onto the name and registry extremely well. Didn't have to do any other modifications to it at all. You'll also notice the two photon torpedo launchers, just like in the Franz Joseph blueprints. So there's another little option for you, is just cutting out a piece of the square tubing and filing it down, sanding it down until it fits the contour of the BC deck, and then inserting an SMD in there. And you got to tilt that SMD back about 30 degrees to get it to shine right, and just play around with it and you'll get it. But that just makes a wonderful flood effect onto the upper saucer. So some more ideas for you to do some modifications with your model. One here, like I talked about before, getting your wires fed through the neck so they aren't shown, and then fabricating a bunch of styrene pieces for your flood effects and for your rings around the nav lights. So hopefully this will be helpful to somebody.